Hi, welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. Now, I'm going to say that I'm actually cheating a little bit because it's actually Friday right after school. I'm recording this early because my husband and I are meeting a friend down the street and we are going to eat dinner out, which is always nice. There's a really nice Italian restaurant right at the top of our street, like 3 blocks away. It's nice in the sense that it's like very like family style. And then there's all these bars that have opened up in the past few years, very close to that restaurant. So we'll get to hit a couple of bars, and I know you wouldn't want to see me after I've been to a few bars. Garage Geek drunk is no, you don't want to encounter that. So I'm doing this right after school. I just got home, so I threw everything together. And you can see I'm still in my dress shirt because I'm actually gonna wear this out today. It was kind of a rough week at school. I had to deal with a really bad student, calling me names in the class, swearing at me, and yeah, sorry, my camera is bouncing around. So had to deal with that. Had to get the father in. It was funny because the father made him hug me and shake my hand, and it was, it's good because, and the father's going to sit with him in the class and everything. So, the father did the right thing, right? Because the kid has to know that I'm there to try to help him, and, he's got to learn respect, and, he's doing it because he wants the other kids in the class to laugh and whatnot. I've been through all this before with other kids. It's part of the process. So anyways, you always got a few each year. So I've basically got new things to show you, movies and books. Now, one of my subscribers, Grant Laird Jr., he just mentioned to me this morning that I guess the writer or somebody, the artist, the writer of the comic Fables is supposedly so tired of DC that he's putting the comic Fables in the public domain. I don't know how that's possible. Like, if DC owns something, how could he do that? So this is actually a story that I need to research, but it's kind of interesting. So if anybody knows about that, would you put some hints for me in the chat? So before I talk about my books and my movies, I'm going to show you what I got. So I got a small package from Amazon, and it's unfortunate because the other half of the package is arriving tomorrow, so I can't show that off. But I got another one of my little facsimile albums. I love these. I got this one for $6, so it was a pretty good deal. Now this is Ike Turner's The Edge. And it was a really strange listen, so I put it in, and it's basically a bunch of cover songs done, Ike and Tina Turner. I didn't realize, but Tina Turner's on this, and she's only on half the album. And then the other half, he sings it. And it's a very strange contrast when you first just listen to it. It's like so apparent, right? All of a sudden, it's like listening to two totally different albums. And in fact, this was the last album that she did with him before she left. And if you know the whole story or seen the movie, What's Love Got to Do with It, then you know what poor Tina went through, through all of this. Anyway, so this is the last album that she did with him, and it's only half of it. Later, only the half that she was on was released separately. So anyways, really strange, interesting listen. And I have to say that I'm actually enjoying it. The more that I listen to it, the more that I'm enjoying this. I've listened to it about 5 times so far. So I got that. I got this. Let me get it. It's like a behemoth. So I got this. So many people were talking about it that I decided to finally go ahead and get it. Now, for many, many years, I have not been a fan of, I don't know what you would say, like cartoon comics. But I'm starting to get into them more. And so I decided to go ahead and buy this. Haven't read it yet. But I have flipped through it, and the art looks great. So what's really cool, as people have mentioned already, that many, many different artists have taken part in this. Now, I just want to give 2 shout outs. So I believe Larry's Library, he reviewed this, and I was really interested in it. And then Comic Collector Geek actually, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting. He interviewed one of the people who ran the comic division that Matt Groening had in place, and it was a really interesting interview. And I decided then that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this, and you know, I'm sure it's going to be a great read. I can't wait to jump into this. Now, there is a second volume already out, which I need to get, and then I believe there's going to be a third volume, because that's what it says here. Now, what's pretty interesting is that this whole cover glows in the dark. And it's true, because I took it inside, and my husband and I turned off the lights, and this glowed. I'm going to show you a picture of it. And my husband wanted to see the whole thing, so we had to like hold it up to the light without the cover on it and to see it. But I'm going to show you. Here's a picture of what it looked like as it glowed in the dark. It was strong, and it was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to delving into that, especially as it gets closer and closer to Halloween. And then I got another Whatnot package in, and but this one is only 3 comics. So I got a John Byrne cover. I really like John Byrne art, so this is The World of Smallville. I paid $1 for that one. This one I paid $4 for, so that was The Eternals. And this is the big one. So this is the one I fought for. So ever since Neil Adams' death, I've really wanted this comic. And even though this one has very slight spine ticks, it presents so well. And so when I saw this one, normally if somebody wants something, I won't go, past 1 or 2 bids. But this one, I ended up bidding, and I won $16. This is the most I've paid of all the comics that I bought on Whatnot. But I really, really wanted this. And there was another copy that someone else had, and someone else bid and got it. And since then, I really wanted it. So I don't actually know if I paid too much for it, but I don't really care. I really wanted it. And I'm so glad to have this in my collection. Such a cool, iconic cover of Neil Adams. So what do you think? Did I pay too much? Was it okay? I think $16 is fine, especially for the condition it's in. I don't know. Maybe I paid too much. Like I said, even if it was only worth $10, I'm actually very glad to have it in my collection. All right. I'm just going to mention this. I'm about halfway through Rusty Brown, which is the comic that I mentioned last week. I am so digging this. I can't wait to finish it and review it properly. Wow, is this a good book. All right. So, here we go. Time for movies and books. I'm going to start with movies. And I have to say that I've got quite a few movies to review. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think 10. Wow, 10 movies. So hopefully I won't gab on and on about each movie. So let me go ahead and open up my photos and start. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I watched it for 2 reasons. So this is, you know what, I don't know if this is something weird to say, but I like Ben Affleck, and I like what he's done with his career. I don't think he was bad as Batman. I don't know, for some reason I think he gets a lot of flack, but Affleck. But I really like him as an actor, and this movie was out called Hypnotic, and it was had a sci-fi premise. I wanted to watch it, and I actually really ended up enjoying it. It is all about hypnosis. It's very far-fetched, but if you don't mind that, if you just kind of surrender to it, I think you'll end up enjoying this movie. I would definitely give this 3.5 to 4 stars out of 5. So I think that if you, like I said, you let yourself, don't question it too deeply, and you'll have a good, fun time with this one. All right, next, my husband wanted to watch this one, which is the new Gal Gadot, because she's Wonder Woman. So he wanted to watch this called Heart of Stone, and wow, am I glad he did. This movie was excellent. Now, one of the reasons I was reluctant to watch it is I remember when it first came out, it was getting bad reviews. I don't understand why. This movie was fun from beginning to end. Action, nonstop. And it wasn't just empty action. I was actually involved with some of the characters. For an action movie, I thought that this was really well done. So I don't know why this is getting bad reviews. I would give that a solid 4 to 4.5 for action movies, right? Not for serious movies. But if you're an action film lover, you're going to like this movie. Next, we watched a movie called Sick, which was a Peacock original. Now, I was not expecting much. It's basically a slasher movie that takes place during the COVID pandemic, and that actually, COVID plays a really important part to the plot of this movie. For a basic slasher, it actually went a little beyond slasher. So I'm going to say that if you like slasher movies, you're definitely going to like this one. If you are not into slasher movies too much, or if you like horror, for me, slasher movie is the horror genre that I can take it or leave it. But this one was done well, and so I'm going to say that this is definitely 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, if you like slasher movies, you need to watch this one, because I think it does something a little bit different and interesting with that. Okay. So basically, it's about these two women who are trapped in a house that's isolated, and there's a killer trying to kill them. Isn't that basically the premise of every? I don't think I've given much away of all those slasher movies. Okay, next was Jung-E, which is a Korean sci-fi movie. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's very special effects heavy, but it did have an emotional story that you could latch onto. The special effects were very good, but of course, with many of these special effects movies, right, you can see where the CGI is and all of that stuff. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. I would recommend Jung-E. Maybe I would say 4.5 stars. I will say that there is a lot of elements in this movie that can be found in many other sci-fi movies, many tropes. But I do think that they use them to their advantage, and it's not too hokey in that sense. The next movie is from 1971 called I Drink Your Blood. And this was the one that I made a couple of shorts of. So this is a B-movie schlock horror, but it's actually really influential. A lot of people got inspiration from this movie, like George Romero and some other filmmakers. And it's very strange. Like, it opens up with, I'm not going to spoil too much, but it opens up with this group of basically tramps, I guess you would call them, like people who just roam from place to place. Not tramps like hookers, but tramps, like they just hippie tramps. They're just going from place to place, and they like to shock, and they hold satanic rituals. And I am going to say there are a couple of scenes that are hard to take because they do sacrifice a chicken in that scene. And I think the chicken was already dead. They show them live, and then they show them, I think it's already dead, and they show it cutting the throat with blood coming out. So, I mean, that's a little bit hard to take. And then there's another scene where they're in this house, and it's infested with rats, And I actually read about this. They actually got all these live rats, trained rats, and they were all running around. And some of these rats were later used in Willard and Ben, the rat movie. But then they're showing all these rats that they killed, and they're putting them on spikes, and they're roasting them. And they actually spray painted the dead rats that they got from like a factory to look like the live rats that they got. It was just, it's gross, okay? I don't mind seeing live rats, but I didn't like seeing all the dead ones like spiked, and I didn't like that too much. But this group of people, they're not friendly or nice people, and they harass this family. And one of the kids that was getting harassed, he's like a young boy, he decides that he's gonna get retribution. So he finds a rabid dog in the woods. Okay, really weird. He kills it with his like shotgun. He's a young kid with a gun, and he takes its blood. And his family runs like a bakery, and he puts the rabid blood into the tramps like meat pies, and they all eat it, and they become rabid, and they start terrorizing the town. I probably spoiled a lot, but who cares? These B-movie schlock movies, you can watch them anyway. It's just so ridiculous from beginning to end, but it's fun watching all these people running around with like toothpaste foaming out of their mouth. And it's called I Drink Your Blood, which has nothing to do with the movie at all. So, yeah. Do I recommend it? No. It's horrible. But if you like B movies, then you'll enjoy it, just so that you could say, well, I saw that one. Okay, the next one. Oh, I'm sorry, but this one is all blurry. So I went ahead and watched the movie They Cloned Tyrone, which is on Netflix. Now, I started watching this because it got really good reviews. And I started watching it with my husband, and after about 15 minutes, my husband hated it. He was so bored. He doesn't like gang movies. Like, the beginning of the movie is all about gangs, like people going up on other gangs, and because of their, drugs and trying to get the money from them, and, violence and all that. And I was like, okay, so we went ahead and switched it, and we watched another movie. But I went ahead and finished it because I wanted to know, like, what it had to do with sci-fi. And so as soon as I turned it off, it got really sci-fi heavy, and it became a very good movie. And these two characters were hilarious. Her outfits, and this is Jamie Foxx, and unfortunately I don't know this actress's name. I've seen her before, but wow, were they funny. And the whole movie, I don't know, like, I would recommend this movie. I thought it was well done. But if you don't like, gangs related stuff like my husband, then maybe you won't like the movie. But once you get past that, it's really a fun, enticing sci-fi romp. It becomes funny, and not only funny, it does have its poignant moments. I really enjoyed it. So They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix. Sorry, my ear is itching. So instead of watching that, we jumped over and we watched this movie, I think, which was Nimona. So Nimona is an animated movie, as you could see. And wow, have animated movies changed? They had gay characters full on kissing. They had so many different races represented in the movie. I mean, all of that was so cool to see. And I mean, animated movies have come so far, and I'm going to have to say that I really, despite all that other stuff, the inclusivity and everything, which is really, really good, it was a solid movie. So I can praise it all around, not only for its inclusivity, but also because of its really nice animation and storytelling. I enjoyed Nimona, and I think it's a great animated film. So if you like animated movies, you definitely have to watch this one, Nimona. I'm actually really praising a lot of movies. I saw a lot of good movies this week, and I'm not going to stop there. We watched another horror movie called Alone. Oh, I liked this movie a lot. On the edge of your seat from beginning to end. I'm just going to tell you the beginning, and then if you're into it, but it changes. It's got about 3 different acts. So the first act is this woman is driving across country to move to a new city when she gets a stalker following her. And that's the first act. I'm not going to tell you more, but I really, really enjoyed this movie. I mean, if you're squeamish about, like, you know, serial killers and possible torture and maybe rape, although that really doesn't happen, but you know, the thought is there. Violence, you know, typical horror movie stuff. But if you don't mind horror movies, I really thought that this was great. Did it do anything really new? No. It did combine a couple of genres, to be honest with you. But I thoroughly enjoyed this because the characters were interesting, and it kept me on the edge of my seat for the movie. So I really enjoyed it. The penultimate movie we watched, my husband picked, called The Kings of the World. And this one is almost, I'm going to give it 5 stars, but I'm going to give you a caveat. There's some surreal elements to it which might make it difficult for some people to, like, understand, because you don't always know exactly what's happening. But if you don't mind, it's not prevalent, but there are some surreal elements to this movie. But otherwise, it's about a group of street kids. And the moment you say that, you know it's not going to turn out well, right? It's a movie about poverty, about people who are disenfranchised, people who are dreaming for a better life, and what they have to go through. And it's very powerful. This is a good movie. I would say that this is a 5-star movie. You need to watch it. But some people might be put off with a little bit of the surreal elements in this movie, right? So it doesn't always just stick to the linear storytelling. Highly recommend that one. And unfortunately, we're going to end on a bad note. So last night we watched the movie Simulant, and I believe this one was on Hulu. Now this has a bunch of familiar faces. It's hard to tell because this guy is like a staple in so many, like, CW shows. And this one is, I believe his name is Simu. He was the one who was in Master of Kung Fu. He was also in a show that I really liked about a Korean grocery. And then this guy was the guy in Avatar. Unfortunately, I don't know who that actress is. But this was your run-of-the-mill sci-fi movie that did nothing new. I was kind of just like, well, it's fine for what it was. Like, if you just want to watch a no-brainer type of movie, my husband actually really liked it because I don't think he watches a lot of sci-fi movies like I do. And so for him, everything in it was kind of new. But I'd seen all of these ideas 1,000 times before. Does it have action? Yes. I don't know. I would say that this is a 2.5 or a 3. I can't highly recommend it. But if you just want to watch something new, sci-fi, and you don't want to think, you want to turn your brain off, put on Simulant. So those are all the movies that I watched. Please, any comments? Have you seen any of them? What do you think? Let me know. All right, so now I need to talk to you about some of the books that I read. Now, I'm not going to go into in depth on 2 of them because Sleepy Reader 666 and I are actually going to talk about 2 of them. We're going to have like a live chat. So the first one is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, and this one is one of the Hugo-nominated books for this year. And so we went ahead and read that one, and we also read, or I listened to both of them, The original, The Island of Dr. Moreau. So we're going to be talking about both of those. I will say that I liked both of them for different reasons. One of them I really liked, the other one I just liked. But if you're curious and you want to hear me blab, blab, blab for about 2 books, then go ahead and please look forward to our live stream of that. Then after that, I also read a manga that I talked about called Blood on the Tracks. I made a video about that. If you're interested, that one was really, really good. That was recommended by All Sorts of Words. And I went ahead and read it. I loved it. And I also have parts 2 and 3 that I'm going to be reading soon. Almost the last one is, let me rub my nose. I know I'm not supposed to be doing that. Wait, since I already did it, let me do it one more time. Sorry, everybody. The Wizard of Oz. Now, I'm trying to get caught up on some classic series that I've never really listened to or read before. And this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this so much. And it was so interesting to see the differences that the book had from the movie. Because as a kid, I've seen The Wizard of Oz, the movie, so many times. Right? And so to see the differences, it was really interesting. And this is actually a very entertaining page turner. It's very well written. And so I'm definitely going on to the second one. I already have it in my queue. I'm going to be listening to that one. So let me give you an example of what's different. In the initial chapter, Dorothy is in a cyclone. She's in her home, and the whole home gets ripped up. There's no, Scarecrow, Tin Woodsman, or what's the other one? Cowardly Lion. There's no Wicked Witch human counterparts. There's none of that there. They all added that to the movie. And you know what? What an amazing addition that was when you think about it. They did a great job writing that movie, because that really is, really makes the bookends of that story so much better. However, I will say that the beginning of the book wasn't poorly written, but it's very short, and it solely focuses on Dorothy, Aunt Em, and Toto, and that's it. There are a lot of other changes or differences, but that's just one that I'm going to give you for example. And I'm only 50% through this book, Anne of Green Gables, and I'm going to go through all 6 of these books. But wow, I am blown away at how much fun and how emotionally invested I am in this book. This writer is phenomenal. I cannot believe how almost every chapter I'm like laughing or almost on the point of tears. I don't cry easily. But I'm just like so emotionally invested in this character and her exploits. So she's a precocious child, an orphan who's been passed around, and she basically needs to find a family to love her, and she's loquacious, like she will not stop talking, and I don't know, you just fall in love with Anne and the people that she comes to live with and all the situations she gets into. Great book. Like I said, I'm only 50% of the way through, but wow, is this a great book. Highly recommended, especially for a kid's book. And you know what? Garage Geek, your friendly neighborhood Garage Geek is done. Your friendly neighborhood Garage Geek is going out into the neighborhood to have some well-earned drinks. Because he put up with a lot of shenanigans from those kids this week. So he needs to get out there. I want to thank all of you for the support, for watching. As always, I love your comments, and I want to wish everyone a great weekend.